Good morning. We're celebrating today, and we've got a very special lineup of recipes and chefs, a lot of chefs. Let's get cooking. This is our 400th Saturday Kitchen Live. Welcome to the show. That was delayed reaction, wasn't it, really? 400 shows and still useless. Cooking in the studio today are two great friends of the show. First, a woman who set the culinary world alight with a modern Persian cooking. It's the brilliant Sabrina Ghayour. And next to her is a man that's joined many of us over the last sort of 400 shows. It's the fantastic Michelin-starred Norfolk hero himself. He wrote that link as well. You wrote that one in there? It's called Blackiston. Great to have on the show, guys. Sabrina, you're cooking, celebrating two things, really. 400th show, but also Persian New Year.
Yep, exactly. And I'm going to be cooking a traditional dish of Persian New Year, which is sabzi polo mahi, which is an aromatic herb rice with a nice perfume and citrus spice salmon.
I'm glad you pronounced that really as well. So it's partly cooked and then finished off in the pan?
Yeah, so it's partly parboiled and then it's put back in the pan to steam cook.
And lots of herbs as well?
Yes.
So, herbs on the menu? I don't think we've got many on your
No, not
dish,
too many herbs with mine. I'm doing sort of a Norfolk blackened duck, James. You'll love it. I'm using Norfolk mead, my own honey, spring vegetables. Oh, it's going to be lovely.
And the whole thing about it is the glaze that you make as well. That's the key to it.
It's the glaze and the actual duck.
That's what it's going to be. So there you go, two delicious dishes to look forward to. And also got a great lineup of fantastic foodie films, as always, from the BBC's archive. Today we got servings from Rick Stein, those incredible Spice Men, plus I've chosen my favourite film archive from the last 400 shows, which I'll reveal a little later on in the show. But first, our special guest today is one of the most enjoyable we've had over the last 9 years. It also happens to be one of the country's finest and funniest comedians. Please welcome back to Saturday Kitchen, it's the one and only Johnny Vegas! Great to have in the show, boss.
Hey, great to be back.
Great to have in the show. Of all the people we cook for, it's definitely going to be you as well.
Oh, really? What can I say?
How's the food town so far? Persian food, I'm interested in that sort of stuff?
Yeah, and I love salmon. It's one of the things I've had. Because I don't have any confidence with cooking fish, but it's the one that I can do, and I do it for my son. It's a little bit healthier.
You're a bit of a keen cook, though, aren't you, really?
I am, yeah. I like to, but it's trial and error with me, a lot of it. I tried your toad in the hole last night, and I didn't use a big enough pan, so it just climbed right over the top and kept going. They look like the sausages had fallen down a canyon. But yeah, I do. But my wife's a brilliant cook, so I don't get the opportunity now. She's been away this week, so I like, messing about.
You don't have to do any of it today, so don't worry.
No,
there you go. Instead, I'm going to cook food. Instead of cooking food heaven or food hell for Johnny, we're going to do something a little different now to celebrate our 400th show. I want to cook one of my favourite recipes from the last 9 years on Saturday Kitchen. So I picked out two possible dishes that we could choose as well, that you'll be eating at the end of the show. First of all, like I said, it's up to our studio guests and some of our viewers to decide which one we get in. Now, as usual, but we're going to do it slightly differently at the end of the show because we've got a massive amount of chefs joining us later on in the show as well to pick. So, first, I've picked a recipe from probably the greatest chef in the world, Mr. Thomas Keller. It was the chicken chasseur and waffles. Sorry, it wasn't you, Gordon, sorry.
It's a bit embarrassing punching the air.
I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, you were ready for that one. He cooked for us back in October 2011. The chicken was brined first, then roasted with thyme and served with some waffles and a classic chasseur sauce of mushrooms, tomatoes, white wine, garlic and herbs. Or Johnny could be facing one of my all-time favourite recipes instead. Now, you mentioned the toad in hole. This is Yorkshire pudding to go with a fantastic roast 4-rib of beef, and it's a proper 4-rib of beef, this one. The puddings are made using my granny's oil recipe, 8 eggs, 8 ounces of flour and a pint of milk, and they're served with a whole 4-rib of beef, roast potatoes and a leek and brioche bake, and some proper gravy to go with it. Happy with that one?
Yeah.
You'll have to wait to the end of the show to find out which one, of course, I'm going to be cooking. Now, if you'd like to ask questions for any of our chefs today, then you can do that by calling this number. That's 033 0123 1410. That's 033 0123 1410. And if we were to put your questions to us live a little later on. And if I do get to speak to you, then we'll be asking you whether you want me to cook, which one dish you want me to cook at the end of the show. You can also contact us through social media now. You can send us your comments and questions using hashtag Saturday Kitchen. You hungry?
Yeah. I've had to block someone this morning.
Have you? Have you?
On the social media. It's always funny sitting there like that, because when you're chatting that way, you just want to It's like I'm on a really intense date with you.
Right, I'm off. Right, let's get cooking and kicking things off, is it?
Don't go.
It's a celebration dish from Sabrina Ghayour. What are you going to be cooking then, Sabrina? What are we going to be making?
OK, so we've got classic dish of Persian New Year.
Yep.
It's all about spring, so there's going to be lots of herbs. It's called sabzi polo, which is a herb aromatic rice.
Which is that, and you want me to put it in there?
This is, yeah, the salmon. If you can put that in the oven, we're going to try and cook that to real time.
Yep.
We're going to serve it with a really, really lovely citrus and spice perfumed salmon, which is dead simple. We've got some rose petals. In the meantime...
Rose petals?
Rose petals, that's all about, you know, Persia, aromatic, romantic.
My granny used to have these in her bath. It was in a little dish next to a toilet roll
Your
warmer.
granny was clearly bang on trend.
Yes. Do you know what a toilet roll warmer was?
Yeah.
Did you have those in Persia?
No.
Well, you know the toilet roll warmer? With the Barbie doll that was cut in half, stuck on the top?
Your toilet roll.
You mean the crocheted one?
Yeah, the crochet. You had one. Yeah. You had one as well?
Yeah, well, no, we had the Spanish one. Boy, fancy. And we don't ever been to Butlins.
No, my mother's further she got. Right, what was that then?
So that was kind of part and parcel of the...
Right. You needed to stop
It's perfume,
first.
yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
So get the rose petals in there, need to brine them up. If you can kindly chop all of those and slice the spring onions for me.
All of this?
All of that. We're literally going to get it into the water that we cook the rice in.
Right.
Which sounds a bit of a shame, but that's how we do it Iranian style. We get the herbs in with the rice as it parboils.
So we got what have we got here? Parsley, chives, coriander, dill.
Parsley, chives, coriander, dill, spring onions. Very
There's a lot of herbs in
important.
here.
Where is the strainer? Here we
Right.
go. Lovely. Going to just strain off this rice that's been soaking.
So this is for Persia. This is for the New Year that you celebrate.
Yes.
When exactly was it?
It was actually last night at 10:45. Sounds a weird time, but it coincides with the spring equinox.
Right.
And we work with a solar calendar, so I was up quite late last night, basically. But it's a really lovely time. It's all about family and feasting and celebration, and it's
all about a lot of herbs by the looks of all this lot.
Well, it's because they signify spring, so it's the green that really kind of ties in with spring beautifully. And in some regions, they use this beautiful spring garlic, which is really lovely. And then we have this little area here. This is our classic table for. It's called a haftzin, which translated, it's called a haftzin, which means a 7S. And you have to have different things that in Persian language actually start with S. So you've got hyacinths, apple, garlic, sumac, coins, wheatgrass, eggs, something called senjed, I don't know what it is in English, and a paste called...
What was that?
Senjed.
What does that mean? What is it?
I couldn't tell you, actually. It's some kind of dry berry. And then you have samanu, which is a flour-based paste. And they all signify, like, new life and rebirth and fortune, so it's a nice time of year.
That reminds me, my grass needs cutting at home in the spring.
You can have a wheatgrass shot at the end of it as well.
Right.
So in here I've got rose petals, and then I'm going to put in some dried lime powder, which is lovely, gives you a bit of pucker.
Dried lime powder?
Yeah, so they're little dried limes, kind of like the preserved lemons, but the dried version. I got sumac, which is also quite citrusy, cumin and cinnamon.
Now, sumac, you'll be able to get that in the supermarket, but I don't know about the dried lime powder.
Yeah, but you can just use a little bit, squeeze a lime, or you can use dried mango powder, which you can get in Asian shops. But most Middle Eastern shops now, you know, stock everything you need, and even big supermarkets have import sections now.
Right.
Okay, so you want to get zest in so you can give everything a really, really nice citrusy flavour without the acid. This behemoth of an orange, it's the size of a melon.
Right, so you're not... This is not a paste, it's just fine...
No, it's not paste. You just want an abundance of herbs.
Okay.
It just really gives it a lovely flavour, and normally I do stuff with spicing, and this is really gentle and traditionally goes with a smoked fish.
And this goes in here with the...
It does, it does. Sounds a bit weird because, of course, you do lose some of the oils that Western-style cooking would say would be a good thing to hold on, but it's how you do it. I don't want to mess with Iranian people and change tradition. So I'm
what
just
rice
doing
have
what
you
I'm
got?
told.
What rice is that that's gone in there?
Basmati.
Basmati.
We only ever cook basmati rice, only.
And do you wash it or not? You don't need to
Yeah,
wash it.
you don't. I don't.
For this,
For this, we've soaked it basically,
right.
Which is traditional.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. In a pinch, you don't have to. It certainly does. It does improve it a little bit, but you know, life isn't like that today. So you do what you can.
Spring onions go in there as well.
Yep, spring onions in as well. Gives it a nice little oniony flavour.
Do we have this still on the table? Or do you want me to move it?
No, you can move it now.
And these are the berries that we don't know what they are.
Yeah, you should eat one.
Well,
Sinister laugh.
Right. What do they taste of? Are they dry? They look
yeah,
like dry,
they're very
don't they?
dry. They're very, very dry.
Okay.
They all everything has a different meaning. Please don't ask me what all of the meanings represent.
Right.
Oh God, this is going to be funny.
So do you put these in dishes or?
No, they're only ever used for this, as far as I'm concerned.
Is it?
It's a little bit similar to jojoba.
It's like a date, isn't it? Well.
It's
I can
better
see
off
why you put it in.
on the table.
Different. There you go. Now, remember, if you'd like to put your questions through, there are chefs today, and we've got plenty of chefs. Then you can call us now on this number. That's 033 0123 1410. 033 0123 1410. Remember, call us to charge at your standard network rate. Right, I've got my sieve over here. You want me to drain this?
Yes, please. Drain it.
Rice.
You need to rinse it off cold. You want to take all the starch off, because we don't want the rice to clump together. We want it to cook, so be beautiful, singular grains.
Okay.
And then all I'm doing is literally slapping that marinade straight onto the fish. Whack that.
Sabrina, have you tried one of these?
Sorry?
Have you tried one of these?
Have I tried one of those?
Yeah.
No.
Has the use of the word Moorish ever been used in a sentence? with
Powdery, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dry. What do these signify?
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that.
You're not welcome in this house. Have one of these and get out.
Cleansing, it's actually a laxative. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, did we not mention
Put this
that?
down, Sharp. I won't be with you for most of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm
Now-
moving this out of the way.
Gonna get some oil into a pan.
Yeah. So you rinse it
And
in
then,
cold water.
Yes, you rinse it in cold water, and then I'm going to layer it back into a pan. I'm going to put your favourite ingredient in there. Butter.
Right. So you cook this
Okay.
into one. It's just all you do is bring this to the boil. You don't need to do anything with it. Just
Yeah, no, you do. What we want to do is, normally we're going to rinse it off cold.
So it would be
Obviously,
cold
this is-
normally.
Yeah. You're going to rinse it off cold. You want to strain it really, really well.
Okay.
Okay, and then you're going to... Can you season this for me, just with salt, please?
Yep.
We want to make a crust, and usually in a deeper pan, but we're going
What
to
are
do
you
it
doing
here.
when you put it in?
Go for it.
Season that?
Yeah.
Okay. It's easier
Great,
with this thing.
thank you. Then you're going to pile it. We want to steam cook it, so we're not going to use tons for this, obviously.
Right.
And then we're going to pile it back in there, and then we have a lid to cover it, because that's really what creates the steam.
So
and then
what's-
this bit at
what's
the
the
base
idea
is
of
going
all
to
the
give
butter then?
it's going to give you a beautiful crust called tadig, which means bottom of the pan, and it's the bit you fight over.
Okay.
Okay. The most important thing is not to compress this.
Non-stick pan, I take it, is quite
Non-stick
crucial.
pan is ideal. If not, you can just scrunch up some oven paper and stick it on the bottom. And then I'm going to stick holes in it just to kind of give it more of an opportunity to steam. I'm going to transfer a lid on, wrap a cloth with around a lid just to kind of preserve the steam.
So how long would you cook that for then? Because you've got to be quite careful with this.
Yeah,
I'm
you've
assuming.
got to be quite careful, and you've got to be quite gentle with the cooking time. So aggressive gas heat doesn't really work. Ideally, if you have a diffuser, those perforated metal plates with a wooden handle, to break the tension between the heat and the base.
diffuser?
Yes, much like hairdryer, like.
You've lost me.
You don't have to worry.
You've lost me. Go on. then.
And then basically we're going to flip it, and that's the most important thing. And there's like prayer usually involved in this element of it.
Okay, we're ready with the
And,
fish anyway. So
yes, fantastic. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Ugh. Ah! Well, the taddy
that worked, didn't it? Yeah, that was. Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry.
Well, the taddy turned out well, so I'm happy about that. Okay, so this is the crusty bit.
Right.
You can tell
There's
this
quite a
is
lot of a
live.
crusty bit
Yeah,
on the
I know.
floor as well.
Oh,
but-
I just thought I'd do what I do at the omelette challenge normally. I normally trash the
Right.
place with eggs, so but I'm actually really impressed about the crust.
Oh, yeah?
It's really, really well.
I think a little bit more practice in turning it out probably needs more than anything.
Yeah, well, deeper
Well,
pan, my habit. We only do massive portions, so we do like 2 kilos of rice for 4 people. There you go.
Well, that was just time perfect. That's that broken bit, wasn't it? Yeah, it's just a perfect place for the salmon.
No, that's perfect. It serves 4 people and a dog.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
So give us the name of this then.
Okay, this was
Right.
sabzi bouillon mahi, which is a herb rice with citrus spice perfumed salmon.
400 shows and we're still practicing. Apparently needed a wedge of lemon as well to go with it. There you go.
Well, actually, this is probably like before it was the full-fat version, and now it's got less. It's like essentially low-fat version of it.
Well, you get to dive into that.
There you go.
So what do you think of that one?
This is what every Iranian is eating around the world. I had it last night.
I can see you guys are not partial on this.
You have one, James.
I've eaten one.
Did you?
Yeah.
I never saw it, yeah.
There's not a great... Not that. I don't want... I'm discussing this, by the way. There's not a great deal to it, is there?
Oh, actually, that would also work for the rice, wouldn't it? There's not a great deal to it that's not on the floor.
But that's just at about 7 minutes. That's all you want, yeah?
Yeah, you can give it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the fillet.
That salmon is beautiful.
Yeah. Happy with that?
I'm tasty.
There you go. Right, we need some wine to go with this. We sent our wine expert, Susy Atkins, to the very same place our wine expert went for our very first show, Lymington in Hampshire. So let's see what she's chosen to go with Sabrina's stunning salmon.
I'm here on the quayside in the town of Lymington, where the very first Saturday Kitchen wines were selected. 9 years on, let's see what they've got in the shops today. Sabrina, I've made your fantastic citrus spice salmon and herbed rice, and I can tell you, perhaps surprisingly, that I've ruled out the brightly fruity whites. The Sauvignon Blancs and Rieslings of this world are just too overpowering and zingy with the dish. I want something more subtle with more herby, savoury elements. Now, a subtle wine, an Italian like this light Falabella, would certainly be the refreshing option here. But instead I've tracked down something along the same lines, but a bit more complex and unusual. And the wine I've chosen is the Mad Montagnes from the Côte de Roussillon. This wine is made right down in the foothills of the Pyrenees Mountains on the border between France and Spain, and it's a blend of Grenache Blanc and Macabeo, which interestingly is one of the grapes used in Cava. Just look at that lovely rich gold colour. The scent is intriguing. It's a mixture of fennel and jasmine and a bit of orange zest. I'm noticing the rich, ripe texture of this wine. It's got quite a lot of weightiness on the mid-palate, and that's perfect for standing up to the richness of the salmon, of course. But don't think of it as oaky or sweet. Instead, this wine has some intriguing herbaceous notes, fennel, aniseed, there's a bit of angelica, and those, of course, are just what I want to stand up to the herbed rice. There's even a slight nuttiness to go with that rice crust. Then there's a layer of something which tastes a bit like pineapple boiled sweets and preserved lemons, and that's lovely to chime in with the citrus and the sumac that's in the fish marinade. And on the end of freshness, and that balances out that hint of rose. Sabrina, your perfect Persian rice and citrus salmon has certainly got my taste buds springing into action. I hope you enjoy the wine I've chosen.
What do you think of the wine? Now, we're joined by, I don't know what you call a gaggle of wine experts. I don't know what you call them, but a glug, is it? I don't know what you call them, but anyway. What do you think of the wine? I'm hoping you're saying it's rubbish.
Do you know what? It's a great opportunity, but no.
Is it?
Do you know, it's really nice just to have somebody else to choose wine for you.
Yeah, but
And
it's,
not have
I
to
think it's a great match, this.
It's lovely.
What do you reckon, Galton?
Yeah, I think it goes beautifully with the salmon.
Yeah? Happy with that?
I'm just getting the nose off
Just happy to be here. There you go. Right, coming up, Galton, there's an interesting sounding duck dish to make. What are you going to make?
I'm doing blackened duck, James. Well, it's not technically blackened, it's sort of caramelised, but with spring vegetables, mead juice.
It's more mahogany sort of colour, isn't it, really?
Well, it depends on how long you leave it in the oven.
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget, you can ask any of our chefs a question, and there's a few more joining us a little later on, and there's also plenty of expert knowledge in the studio, so all you've got to do is call us now on this number. That's 033 0123 1410. That's 033 0123 1410. And you can tweet a question to us now using the hashtag Saturday Kitchen. And talking about Twitter, they all like that dish, particularly the ending.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
That's my kind of cooking too. Simple is definitely the best way, especially if you're feeding a family this weekend. And talking to families, we've got Antonio Carluccio that's joined us in the studio. The guy that was here for our very, very first show as well. Right, now, I'm going to get on and prepare...
You were very small, I remember.
I was thinner, I know that for a fact. But we're going to get on to prepare one of my favourite recipes for you, Johnny. We're going to make a little meal for you of raspberries. But starting off with the puff pastry, I haven't got time to make it.
Raspberries?
But yeah, raspberries. Yeah, or raspberries, as you call it in Norfolk. Yeah, but we got water, cold water, salt, flour. Mix it together in a dough. You end up with this dough here. And the whole thing about puff pastry is lamination. And you laminate it. This amount of butter goes in that amount of pastry.
Right, OK.
And you roll it all out and layer it. Book turns, and then you end up with it rising. The butter melts. It's trapped in between the layers of pastry, causes the puff pastry to rise.
Right, OK.
All right. So then what you do is roll it all out, which I've got one on this board here, and then cut it out into and leave it to rest, and then put a tray on top of it. Bake it, and we end up with what this is over here. And I'm going to turn this into a nice little classic meal for you.
That's why I'm so big.
Why is
that doesn't look like it could contain that much butter.
That's it. And then we're going to make this with a nice little raspberry sauce, because it's not a coulis, because we're not in France. It is a sauce. And then we've got a little bit of sugar, icing sugar, tiny bit of lemon, and then I'm going to make a little creme pat, which is a custard thickened with corn flour. Sometimes you add flour to it, but I've got some milk warming through with some vanilla in there, and I'm going to add some egg yolks, sugar, and instead of using flour, I'm going to use some corn flour, and it produces this wonderful sort of thick pastry cream that's going to go fantastically well as a filling for this. So, first of all, congratulations. Series running sort of almost consecutively you've got as well.
What's that with...
Well, you've got Benidorm and you've got...
Yeah. Benidorm on ITV, still open all hours on the BBC and
Moon Boy as well.
On Sky, yeah. So
quite busy.
Riding, I know, mainstream.
Amazing.
I'm actually doing work now that doesn't send me mum into hiding.
Because I know Gaunt's a big fan, like I am, of Benidorm as well.
I love it.
But I've got to talk about the darts thing, because that's been on recently as well. Well, tell us the story about it.
The big comeback. No, well, I've played a bit of darts, you know, myself in the past, and I thought I can do me... They brought in a professional, the Iceman, to do the close-up shots of the darts, and I was going, I don't think we need him, just stand back and prepare to be impressed. 26. You know, they're going, no, we need a bullseye, we need a treble 20. Could I hit it, you know, in front of an audience? So it's lucky we had him, but, yeah, it was a great comeback. Yeah. I don't know what the physics are of throwing a dart from the back of the room for the arc of a dart. You know, that initial one that went through the, question sheet. But, yeah, it's great to be back in the show.
Because it is. I mean, you've got a great cast as well that you've got with it, but, I mean, it's just fantastic script as well.
Brilliant, good fun, you know, get a bit of time, bit of a holiday over there as well.
For anybody that hasn't seen it, tell us about the Sky, because that's a comedy as well. Tell us what you're doing for that.
Moon Boy, it's brilliant. It's Chris O'Dowd, who plays an imaginary friend of a young kid, and his other friend has an imaginary friend who's a 70s wrestler, English wrestler, and that's me, Danger Crunchy Haystacks.
Danger Country Hates.
Yeah, so I have to have a perm for that. That's the only thing. So I understood what he's on about with the diffuser early on, because I care for me hair. I like a mousse combination, you know what I mean? Never towel dry, James, because you'll just get split ends.
I've got no idea what you're talking about,
Just grab the towel, you know, just apply the towel to it gently and then put your diffuser on. It just brings life to it.
Right, moving on to the puff pastry. So you got on here the bit that I know something about. We take some ice and sugar over the top, and instead of egg wash over the top of this, what I'm going to use a blowtorch, all right, over the top as well. Now, I was reading a bit about you last night as well. I didn't realise that you'd got a degree, a ceramics degree.
Yeah, I did pottery. Well, ceramic chef for 4 years.
Because this is quite recent, though, isn't it?
No, I did this years ago.
Right.
This was when I wasn't sure what I was doing with my life, and then I thrilled my father by coming home and telling him I was going to be a potter. And I've always done it.
Right.
I've got a wheel at home. I can, you know what I mean? I build, and I've been sort of.
I know you need the wheel at home, but have you got the oven and all that sort of?
I haven't got a kiln, no. I did have one.
So what happens when you make a pot? What can you do with it?
I do the most precarious driving ever to a local college.
Right.
With it in the back, you know what I mean? I actually put on false learner plates just to take it like that. But, yeah, no, it's a nice creative outlet. It's funny that, you know, folk... But I used to do it as part of my stand-up.
Right.
But it's amazing because, like, you know, there's blokes heckling you, and the minute you get on a potter's wheel, they're sort of transfixed by this. It's like the interlude. But yeah, I did that. I've got a teapot in the Victoria and Albert Museum.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm so surprised. That's like you going, I've got a restaurant. Have you?
Yeah, well, it's like me doing, I've got my book's #1. It's not. My mother keeps going round to W.H. Smith's and moving mine from like 14 to #1. But
I did that.
Yeah, you do.
If you think I'm coming fifth to Jordan, you've got another thing coming. And I actually looked up at the camera, you know, in the supermarket and went, yes, I am shifting.
Right.
I hate that. That ruined Christmas. Me going in every bookshop and coming out in a mood. You know, when my wife going, just don't do it to yourself. Just come on, come on.
Right, I'm just going to finish off this. This is the creme pat, all right? Or creme pâtissière, as the French call it. But this has got basically you've got your corn flour in there now as well. In we go with the sugar. So it's like a normal sort of custard that we make. And then all we do is we put that back on the heat. Now, as you bring it to the boil, and you can bring this to the boil,
right.
Not normal custard, otherwise it'll split, it ends up with this sort of thickened mixture. And I've combined that with cream, filled it up into a piping bag, and you've got the little sort of millefeuille that we've got on here. And all we do with that is take the raspberries, or raspberries, as Galton puts it on there as well.
Is it a bus or a bus?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a bus.
It's well, bus.
Bus.
Because bus is B-A-S, isn't it?
Do you have a bath or a
I
bath?
try and ride on a fish. And somebody said to you, get in a bus.
Now, also, you've been busy because you've been working with Russell Crowe. What have you been doing for that? Is it for...
You know what it was? He came to the rugby. It was brilliant. He came to watch his team, the South Sydney Rabbitohs. He went going to the Oscars and came to the rugby final instead.
Yeah.
And said, you know, the Oscars no, I'd rather be in St Helens, which I had printed as a T-shirt. And we ended up sort of putting it on eBay for comic relief. And he got involved and was retweeting. It's been brilliant. And it eventually sold for £1,650. And he's had another £2,000 to the total. But he's been bigging it up on Twitter. He's got really involved with it, so kudos to him. We've raised 3,650 quid.
Fantastic. Well, that deserves
for comic relief.
There you go. Fantastic. Well,
but then his team did beat us 39-0,
right.
So there is still a bit of animosity there.
Right.
Thank you for all your good work, but I will hunt you down.
Right, we're nearly there with this little millefeuille now. So all we do with that is just on the plate. All I've done is put the creme légère, which is pastry cream and cream mixed together, and about 1 part pastry cream, about 3 parts double cream whipped up. And then you just put the raspberries or raspberries.
Wonderful. And at what point do you pick it up and hoy it on the floor?
Yeah. About now, if you want to feed the dog for the dessert as well. But there you have your little millefeuille.
Oh, wow.
With raspberries. So if you want to dive into that.
I always feel guilty with destroying something like that. Are you sure?
I hope you've made 3 more.
Yeah, I have. It's there.
6 more. 6 more.
6 more.
6 more.
There you go.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's it.
Where's my creme pat?
It's not the most easiest thing to eat, because the producer wanted to make a massive one. It's quite actually difficult to eat.
Well, if you'd have made a massive one, I'd have come out with it.
All right, while he dives into that, in case you didn't realise, it's our 400th show today, and to celebrate, we've decided Johnny doesn't have to face his food heaven or food hell. Instead, I've been allowed to choose my 2 favourite Saturday kitchen recipes from the last 9 years, none of which are done by these 3 over here. I'm going to cook one of them at the end of the show. The first dish is the legend, Mr. Thomas Keller. He cooked chicken chasseur with waffles. First of all, the chicken is brined and roasted and served with a homemade waffle and some classic chasseur sauce made from mushrooms, tomatoes, shallots, garlic, wine and herbs. Or the other one is one of my favourite recipes. What could I choose? I just had to choose Yorkshire puddings, of course, with a whole roast 4 rubber beef. The puddings are made using my old grand's recipe of 8 eggs, 8 ounces of flour and a pint of milk, and they're served with a roasted 4 rubber beef, cooked for about 3 hours in the oven and served with a leek and brioche bake and some roast potatoes and some proper gravy. Also some homemade mustard to go with it.
Can I ask you?
What's that?
You're the only chef that I've seen, out of all the recipes, that you rest the batter overnight.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it makes the best Yorkshire puddings in the world.
Is that, it's just purely that?
That's it. Don't listen to Brian Turner. He's upstairs, he'll be down in a minute.
It's hard not to, because he doesn't talk to you, he wraps his arms around you.
Right, it's down to all of the guests in the studio, a few of our viewers to decide, and you can see the result at the end of the show. Right. Cyrus and Tony will be here in the studio shortly, and of course, one mention of Yorkshire pudding, and Brian Turner has just joined us in the studio.
I'm not sure why you're doing mini Yorkshire puddings
It's
today.
not a mini
Don't
Yorkshire
put proper
pudding.
ones, lad.
You just sit down, otherwise we'll just delete the microphone. Still to come this morning on Saturday Kitchen Live, the 2 greatest exponents of the omelet challenge. In Saturday Kitchen history, Gennaro, Contaldo and Paul Rankin go head-to-head with a special 400th edition of the omelet challenge for the honour of winning It's the honour of winning this. It's really heavy, sorry. It's the golden egg cup.
Golden egg.
It's solid metal.
Fabergé's gone down
Who
now.
will break under pressure and who will beat who? Find out live a little later on. Now, I've chosen my favourite clip from the BBC's Archive 2 to show you. It's, of course, the great Keith Floyd. Now, Floyd's in France and he's met his match when he comes face-to-face with a local female cook who's teaching him how to make piperade. Now, this one is classic stuff. It's coming up in about 10 minutes' time. Now, which of our two favourite Saturday kitchen recipes will I be making with Johnny at the end of the show? He could be facing either Thomas Keller's chicken chasseur with waffles or my Yorkshire puddings with a whole roast 4-ribber beef. You can find out which one it is a little later on. Right, it's time for our next recipe from one of Norfolk's finest. He's a regular here on Saturday Kitchen. A party just wouldn't be the same without him. He wrote that bit on the autocue as well. It's Galton Blackiston, of course. What are you cooking then, chef?
Oh, I'm doing this.
You're doing this?
Duckling.
What is it?
Norfolk duckling with this, Norfolk mead with this, my own honey.
All right.
And some lovely little spring
Can you make this
vegetables.
without going to Norfolk or not?
Well, you can, but it's not going to be quite the same, is it?
OK. Now, you want me to use
Yes, these need to go in. These need to be just trimmed up.
What do you want me to do with these?
Don't bother peeling them. Just trim them up.
Sweet.
Put them into that boiling salted water.
Turnips?
Yeah. You call those a turnip, do you? I know up north you sometimes call a Swede a turnip and all that sort of
That's
thing.
ridiculous. The Swedes are Swede, not the turnip.
Hello, Brian. Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. What's your name?
Right. OK. This is going to go into my
glass?
jus later on.
Your jus?
And then I'm going to take some honey to make the glaze. This duck,
Right.
you obviously need to get decent ducklings, and you need these ones to be dry plucked, preferably hand plucked, so the skin is
More
dry.
preferably from Norfolk.
And more preferably, look at this honey, look.
Also, if you've not got the facilities to make your own honey, are we all right to go to your garden?
Yeah, you can come along anytime, Johnny. Yes, anyway, so some honey in a pan,
Right.
decent amount of sea salt.
Now, what do you want me to do with these potatoes?
Can you parmentier them? But do them nicely, James, won't you?
What's he say?
Parmentier dice.
Yes, not too big. Not too big.
OK.
OK. And that's going into a pan. That's going to dissolve the honey. And then ideally you'd let it cool down, and when we paint it on top of the duck. You don't just do it once, you do it a few times, OK?
Okay, right.
The more times the better. We do this at work, and we paint it once, then 2 hours later again, then 2 hours later again. So it's almost a 24-hour job. So you get a really good glaze, and that's where the blackened comes out. Right. You're listening to me for once, James. This is extraordinary. Now then, into this shoe.
My brain's ticking. It's ticking.
I know he is. I can't. He's just
ticking.
waiting. Let me just have a taste. Do you want a taste of it or not? Are you trusting me?
What?
The mead.
Mead?
Mead.
I know what mead is, yeah.
OK, a little bit of that.
What do you want me to do with
goes
these?
into- that then goes onto a tray.
Right.
Well, ideally, you'd... Oh, look at you. You've done them big. I told you to do them small, but
These are going to go in the freezer. We've got some anyway. They're already done.
Ideally, you'd want to cook them and then put them in the freezer. But we have some. Do you want to go and
So
get
these
them
have been
for me?
boiled?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. OK.
Now,
right.
of course, all of today's recipes, including this one, and all the recipes that we've done from the entire... It's got to go in the freezer, it's all right. Done from the entire show are on our website. Go to bbc.co.uk/Saturday Kitchen. Right, we've got some that's been in the freezer.
Brilliant. They need to come out and
We've got some frozen peas in here. Do you want them as well?
Don't get me off my
I've just showed
track.
how to make pastry and you've just got a packet of it here, look.
Now then, you can imagine that this has been done several times. You then have your oven set at 200, 400, gas mark 6. That's fine. Just break that up a little bit. And you cook this for about, are you listening? 20 minutes on a high temperature. And you turn it down to 180.
After you've spent a day covering it
but
with honey.
It's worth it. It's worth it. So I'm going to put this in here.
Right. What am I doing with these now? These get deep fried?
Deep fry them. Deep fry them.
From frozen?
Okay? From frozen.
So it's basically like duck and chips, isn't it, really?
Square chips.
Right.
Well, potentially, I suppose you're right, James.
Right. OK.
OK. Like that, into the deep fat. And you want to get a good colour on them. As you can see, this duck is nice, isn't it?
Galton,
Even
I've been
you'd
told
say
by
that.
my producer you need to wash your hands.
You're right.
Right. Right, so you want mint in there as well with the rest of the veg?
Yeah. And then we have some fresh peas, and I just want you to just trim them up a little bit, but keep them in the pod, please. OK? That's what you end up with.
What do you want me to do with it? You want me to
I
trim
want
them
you
up?
to... Yeah, well, just take the... Do this. I can't even do it.
That's it.
Keep them in the pod, and then we'll put them in at the end. OK?
Right.
Like so. Then take this duck out. Leave it to rest. That's an important thing, massively important that you leave it to rest.
Right.
Are you keeping an eye on your parmentier, or shall I do that?
I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm all over it.
OK, cool.
All you've done so far is just brushed the duck with honey.
I have.
I've done everything else.
It's brilliant. I love it. No. I've also... Very important is your sauce.
What's that?
You either make or break your dish by the strength or weakness of your sauce. You know that, James.
Yeah.
So this is a duck jus, which is made by the bones being roasted off and then with roasted vegetables and all that sort of thing. What are you looking at me like that for?
I'm just waiting for the next...
It worries me when you start staring at me.
Oh, this is tense.
It's not tense.
I've got 2 Yorkshires and a Lancashire here, and I'm up against it.
I've only got
aren't I?
2 questions on here, one of which, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone through Johnny what he's doing, and he's filled his entire life and stuff like that. Galton is also planning to expand his empire.
You need to watch this space on that one.
Is that it?
Well, fish and chips are doing well, very well. And I wouldn't mind, but you never know. So, but most importantly, we've had a lot of work done at Morstan as well.
And I also got another one on here. After the show, Galton is heading back to Norwich to watch football.
Yes, I am. As much as I'd love to join the party, I've got a very important date at Carrow Road. Obviously, you know, the...
Who's beating him this week?
Well, Ryan, you don't need to chip in on that one. Well, we're going to potentially lose to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, they're playing well.
Right, now I put the peas in here. These
Yeah.
you're going to cook these in the pods because we want to break these open, but there is a little bit of a mint in there as well.
Yeah, you can take the mint out.
So is this a dish that you have on the restaurant at the moment?
It is a dish that we do have on the restaurant. When I described it as blackened duck, that really came out of a mistake early doors. When we put it in the oven, we glazed it, and it did go black. It tasted lovely, but it went black. This is how you actually want it. Beautifully caramelised, like that.
Now, I'm going to give you the peas because you can do...
OK, how's my
something with the
parmentier? Oh, look, they're coming on a treat, look.
So, Galton, would you recommend Norfolk mead for us wine folk as well?
For you wine folk, I would actually have it in the sauce and probably leave it at that, personally. Right, so let's have these out there. Look at those. Those are beautiful, James.
It is really just chips, though, isn't it, really?
Get on with it and get that here and behave yourself.
And it's from one of France's hotspots. And the wine I've chosen is the Réserve Saint-Chinian 2013. Saint-Chinian is one of those lovely areas in the Languedoc in the deep south of France that delivers lovely red wines based on Syrah and Grenache. And often, like this one, they come at a very good price. And a lovely scent to this. It smells of forest fruit. There's loads of blackberries. South and southwest France makes so many red wines that I think go brilliantly with duck. But for this recipe, with its spring-like vegetables, the carrots and the petit pois, I don't want anything that's too heavy or oaky. Now, this wine is relatively light for this region. It's well balanced, it's smooth and it's young, and it doesn't threaten to overwhelm those vegetables or, of course, that tender duck meat. Then there's those lovely fruity flavours, so blackberry again and plum and cassis, and that marries beautifully with the sweeter elements of this dish, the honey glaze and the mead. And then on the finish, soft and rounded, a little hint of savoury licorice that I think marries beautifully with the crispy golden King Edward potatoes. Galton, I may not be there in the studio with you, but I raise my glass to your gorgeous duck and to a wonderfully happy 400th Saturday kitchen. Cheers.
Cheers indeed. Cheers. This table's getting a bit big now, isn't it? It's growing. What do you think of the wine? I'll ask the experts first of all. What do you reckon?
Great match. It's such a great match.
And it's served at a really good temperature, so that it's nice and cool.
She so
which
wants to
actually...
say it's not good, not very good, though.
The other Susie has done brilliantly.
It's not what you said when that was played. Anyway. What do you reckon? Happy with that?
Yeah.
The duck's disappeared over here, but it's lovely.
I could feel their eyes burning into me, you know. I was really saying, that and the potatoes were made. They're just
Great, aren't they? Yeah.
so
I think
light.
that's down to the freezing of them, actually.
Can you buy these in a supermarket now? Galton's frozen chicken.
Can you imagine?
Right, it's time to enjoy a film from one of the greatest TV chefs of them all, the late, great legend, Mr. Keith Floyd. Now, we loved sharing these adventures with you over the years. I told you it was classic TV. Now, you might have noticed I've been joined by a few more chefs. They're here to represent the... right on cue there as well. They're obviously here to represent the hundreds of chefs we've had on the show over the last 9 years, and some of our brilliant wine experts have joined us too. All their names are coming up on the screens now, together with our amazing guest as well, Johnny, which I'm just going to spin round while we do this bit. Just while we do this bit, that's right.
Human kebab!
You'll get lower and lower and lower. Anyway, welcome to you all. Thank you so much for taking part in the show. I genuinely mean it, because it would be a whole lot better without you and much easier. Amazing. And more recently, I've got to thank, Brian, first of all, for covering for me while I was away as well.
It was a privilege, Chef.
Cyrus and Tony, you're feeling...
We can do anytime you want.
Any week you want. Well, you're nodding, but Cyrus is not...
Just don't want 2 earpieces.
How do you find it, anyway?
Oh, bloody hell, I didn't know where the cameras were. 1, 6, gone, 5, gone, 3. It was driving me nuts. And this man's earpiece came out.
It's the voices in your head.
I get that all the time, mainly moving on as well. But I know you're all a competitive bunch as well. The person who's been on the most on this gaggle that we've got here is Atul. The secret is we actually don't invite him, he just turns up, you see.
Does it mean he's really good or just really needy?
His wife kicks him out on a Saturday morning, that's the main thing as well.
Go to James.
Yeah, but hopefully you've enjoyed. I mean, nine years, it's the most successful Saturday morning show ever. I don't know, different ages here, but I remember the Tis Was, Brian remembers...
I used to be on that.
Not TV. But it's been absolutely fantastic. It really has. And Kenny, thank you for coming.
It's great.
Just see you there as well.
Yeah. I've got my special shoes on today.
Are you really? And of course, Mark, you've been with us since one of the most beginnings. Really, the first couple of months.
Yeah, all good, great fun. I've always enjoyed it. Watching you chopping, your action. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Anyway, we've got some tweets and we've got to get some phone calls in a minute. Glyn at the back there. We're going to put subtitles on for this bit.
Do you want in English or in Brummie?
Whatever you want, Brummie will do. So we've got a tweet. Go on,
I've got a tweet, and she's used the hashtag Saturday Kitchen, so I'll just put that there because I'm down with the youth. So it's from Peggy Hall. Just say congratulations on the 400th show, and it says it's the best ever show, cooking show ever. But I've put an extra ever in there for you. And she said, can Daniel or Adam please wave and say hello? Daniel, Adam. Hello? Adam, where's Adam?
So have you actually got a question for us?
No, there was no question. It was just that. The other one is James. Could you
give us the next one then? Give us the next one.
Next one. Okay, this is from Adam Ormsley. He wants to know how we can make his choux pastry a little bit firmer.
Who wants to take that one? You're all looking at me for yeah.
He said when I make eclairs, they are simply a little flat.
Yeah. The whole key to this, I'll be honest with you, is the type of flour that you use. I'm going to upset the supermarkets. Don't buy supermarket own brand flour. Okay. When I did the junior bake-off and I was judging, I was trying to make eclairs and they wouldn't work. And we changed the flour to a good quality flour, and it worked every single time. So
was it James Martin flour?
Yeah, no, it was not yet. Anyway.
But it will be.
Anyway, we've got one more Twitter. Go on.
One more Twitter just says, has anybody got a good rye bread recipe? Or what's the best thing to do with beef cheeks?
Beef cheeks. Jose, do you want to take that one? No, beef cheeks?
The thing I do normally, I just marinate for 24 hours with plenty of vegetables and red wine. Next day, pan fry very well. Fry the vegetables, reduce the wine there, and just cook slowly for...
And after 9 years, I've only just got your second name right. It's Pizarro.
Pizarro.
I remember. Anyway, let's get on to our phone lines. We didn't say that in rehearsal. All right, each caller is also going to help us decide what we're cooking at the end of the show. Now, don't forget, there's no food heaven or food hell. Our callers are going to be choosing between two of my favourite dishes instead, none of which are cooked by these lot. We've got Wendy from Falkirk. You there, Wendy?
Yes, I am. Morning and congratulations.
Morning to you. What's your question for us?
I've got a tin of savoury chestnuts and I've no idea what to do with them.
Savoury chestnuts. Brian, go on then, quickly.
I'd use chicken livers, a bit of Madeira sauce in an old-fashioned vol au vent, puff pastry case, delicious.
Sounds pretty good. What do you like, chicken or beef for the end of the show?
Chicken, please.
She meant beef.
Jane from Renfrewshire? Where's that?
It's in the
All right, OK. What's your question for us?
Morning to you.
boys. Morning.
What's your question for us?
My question is, I've got some lobster tails and I'd like to know what to do with them. They are
Lobster
raw.
tails. I've got Antonio. Lobster tails?
Very simple. Chop them, a little bit of garlic, chili, olive oil, a little bit of wine, cook a couple of linguine, put it in, a little parsley, that's it.
Perfect. What dish would you like to see, chicken or beef?
Definitely 100% beef.
That's it. Laura from Cambridge, are you there, Laura?
Oh, hello, darling. Yes, I am.
You shut up, you lot. What dish would you like to see? Oh, yeah, I'm all confused now. What would you like to ask us?
Well, I got some beef skirts from my butcher's yesterday. I was thinking of doing like a beef bourguignon or something. I'd like to know what red wine I should cook with, and then what I should put with it for us to drink once I've cooked it.
Who wants to take that? Go on, then. Go on.
I think it's a really good question, but don't use rubbish wine, basically. Choose a nice wine, but Bourguignon classically is from Burgundy, but red Burgundy can be a bit pricey for this sort of dish. We'd say a really good New World Pinot Noir, something from New Zealand, or the Chilean Pinot Noir, which Susie referenced, is really, really nice one too.
Sounds pretty good. Anyway, we've got to move on, so I'm going to move over to the omelette challenge now. You're going to like this bit. You're going to... Oh, what do you like to see? Chicken or beef at the end of the show? Sorry?
The English, darling. It's got to be beef.
Exactly. Right, now you're going to like this one. You'll thank your lucky stars you aren't dressed like this either. Right, it's time for the omelette challenge, and things are a little different today. To mark our 400th show, we've invited back two of the greatest omelette makers the world has ever seen. First of all, representing the town of Minori on the Amalfi Coast, he was the top of the board for over a year. It's the Italian stallion himself, Gennaro Contaldo! Sits in the centre of our omelette challenge pan. The position he's held for over 2 years now, representing Northern Ireland with that incredible time of 17.52 seconds. It's Mr. Paul Rankins. Just get on with it. Right, I'm assuming you've been practising. Usual rules apply, guys. Let's put the clock to the screen. All right, there's no boards. Remember, this is for this very expensive plastic trophy. Are you ready?
You can put that down for free.
Hold on a minute. 3, 2, 1, go.
Come on, Rankin.
Is that why I'm sat here? Am I the photo finish?
This one is kind of good. It's good. This one kind of doesn't need a fork. It needs a straw, really, doesn't it, Lee?
It's not our best efforts, I have to say.
However, I'm
not so good under pressure.
I'm going to announce the winner, and I have to say, because of the outfit and for all the laughs we've had on Saturday Kitchen over the last 9 years, the winner has to be Gennaro Contaldo! Right, what dish will we be cooking at the end of the show? It's a choice... I mean, this is mayhem today. It's a choice between two of my favourite Saturday Kitchens recipes, either Thomas Keller's chicken chasseur with waffles or my own Yorkshire puddings with roast four-ribber beef. Our wonderful collection of chefs and wine experts behind me will be making their choices, whilst we take a look back at some of the many great moments we've enjoyed over the last 400 Saturday Kitchens. So let's start at the very beginning. Welcome and good morning to an all-new Saturday Kitchen. Now it's time for our fantastic first chef.
See the way they put that fridge there so that every time you go in there they see your bum.
Started already.
They were looking.
Simon?
Don't be nervous, because I'm here.
I'm not nervous. I'm just thinking about this amazing dish that you told me about and what I could do with it.
A little bit riled, isn't he? Just a little bit. He's smiling, but underneath, he's shut up.
Put it up. Crikey, that's hot. Put your hand in the fire. OK.
You put me up to that. Yeah, you put me up.
You do a nice fish. That's what you have to do.
Have you ever tried this recipe before?
Yes.
Just eat that anyway. Happy?
Oh, fabulous.
Beautiful. May I? Like dive in?
Do I get a score?
us what you think of the pot. Now you think it's perfect, I tell you.
See, in San Sebastian, do you know it's true, this, Jen? If you just kind of burn off some vinegar in the frying pan, it acidulates the oil.
It's got a truffle with it. Have you bought that from the restaurant? Of course.
Fresh black truffle. When we started this show 5.5 years ago, I drew up a list of chefs who would love to cook at our hogs. And top of the list, I'll be honest, was this gent, Mr. Thomas Keller. You're going to cook for me.
Don't worry, because you may not have to eat it because it probably won't work. Right, OK.
Look what I've done for you.
You've made this?
Yeah.
Right, you're not eating this, so I'm going to eBay it. Right, our next question is from Gareth at the chef's table. Gareth.
Will you marry me?
Yes! Oh my God!
Here we go. You're having trouble?
Yeah.
Okay. It's right about here.
Yeah. Smells good. I know it's going to taste pretty good as well.
Korean sandwich.
And with that, perfect. In the oven for 4 to 5 hours.
4 to 5 hours?
Yeah, literally.
Can you imagine how drunk I'd be by the time that comes out?
This is the whiskey.
All that?
Well, no, this bit. I was going to leave you the rest with a straw, because I know what you like. Yeah.
Yes!
Can you start from the beginning, because I just get lost?
Great memories there. Right, it's time to find out which dish I'll be cooking for Johnny at the end of the show. Now, I was asked to choose 2 of my favourite recipes from the 2,000 we've made over the last 400 shows. I picked firstly Thomas Keller's chicken chasseur. The chicken is brined, which we've got some over there, and then that's roasted with a lovely little chasseur sauce. Alternatively, it could be 4 rib of beef with classic Yorkshire pudding. All the trimmings, we've got roast potatoes, we've got homemade mustard, and we've got leeks baked with brioche. And like I said, it wasn't the, you know, to get these guys just to choose what you're going to be eating, but I thought we'd ask these guys. Right. So all of the chefs together and our wine experts, put your hand up for the chicken. Put your hand up for the beef. That was basically blackmail, otherwise I was never going to invite him back. Right. So we lose this out of the way, right.
Who is this Thomas?
These guys can be sat over here, so we're going to basically... Yeah, just be quiet over there, heckling. First of all, what I'm going to do is make the mustard for this. We've got vinegar, we've got mustard seeds, we've got dark and white mustard seeds. That's going to go in there. We've got some mustard powder, some sugar, and we've got some vinegar going in, and a good pinch of salt.
Are we doing these, James?
It's like being in a pub, isn't it, with these lot over here?
It is.
Listening to them all. So anyway, we're going to bring this to the boil and just gently cook it for about 2 or 3 minutes. Take it. I don't know about pub, it's like being at the football, but anyway.
Oh, brilliant, thank you.
Was that... What was that? I still can't understand, and even after 9 years, but... Right, we've got our sauce on the go. Are you all right there, Johnny?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, yeah. Right, I'm going to make my gravy, first of all, or as Galton called it earlier, jus. The difference, obviously, is about 28 quid from Galton's restaurant, obviously. But we're going to then saute off using some butter, a bit of shallot. That's going to go in here. And then we're going to reduce that down with a bit of white wine. So the mustard just gets boiled up like that. We've got our potatoes peeling. We've got our leeks been chopped. We've got our shallots about to go in there as well.
Leeks.
They're about to go in this big pan as well.
I'm never trusted to peel anything.
Really? Nothing?
Nothing, ever.
Right, and then what we're going to do is... I'm going to get onto doing the Yorkshire puddings in a minute, but what we're going to do is chop these.
Sorry.
This for the leeks?
Yeah, that's for the leeks. The whole lot goes in here. Chef, there you go, with a little bit of butter. All of it. That's going to go in there. In we go with the leeks, like that. And then we got some fresh thyme. The whole lot goes in, like this. And then I'm going to get these started first of all. So these just get cooking down nicely. And then over to our 4 rib of beef.
And if you didn't have butter, would margarine do?
Johnny has to...
I'll be over here.
Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, I'm going to do this in real time, this one, yeah. So this is, we get some salt. Can you drink that? I'm a bit too stressed with today.
Are you, darling?
You're darling.
James, darling.
I'm so going to get you lot back after the show. Anyway, while these lot drink...
Had an accident at work. It wasn't your fault.
I'm going to put this in this...
just a little bit more to the right, and I could have retired.
Right, I'm going to put that in the oven.
And since that day, all cookery shows were done with goggles.
Anyway, leave that in there for 3 hours, all right? And then we've got here, we're going to take some red wine. That's going to go in there. We've got the mustard cooking away nicely. Right, now on with these leeks. We need to colour off some of our brioche, if you could do that, all right? There you go, in that pan, that'd be lovely. Right, some brioche in there. In we go with the white wine. There we go. In we go with double cream. Just a little bit. And a little bit more. Some salt and some pepper. And now we'll talk about the best part of this dish, which apart from the beef, is of course the Yorkshire pudding. So, Yorkshire puddings. Mate, are you listening, Mr. Turner?
Are you listening, Mr. Turner?
He's still using the... Hey, it's still the recipe I gave him when he was 8 years old.
Oh, is it really?
When he was milling his own flour.
There's an outstanding invoice as well, lad. Go on, son, break them carefully.
8 eggs.
Very Yorkshire, that brioche.
What's that?
Very Yorkshire. It comes from Yorkshire brioche.
Go on, James.
It does. You come from Watford. You've been conning people for years.
Don't get Drew in here, James. The shoe is in
the shoe. I don't know what the hell's going on, to be honest with you, Galton. I don't know. This goes in here. Right, in we go with the sauce. Right, this is some of your jus. Nice little jus. Right, that's going to get boiled up. Then you're going to make the mustard. So you need to pour that lot in.
Yeah.
And then you need to blitz that now.
Yeah. Okay.
Full on for about 2 minutes.
Full on.
Right. Yeah. Full on. 2 minutes. Right, and if things couldn't get any worse, now my earpiece is now gone down anyway, but anyway, look. We'll mix this together, like that. And you've got the milk in. Then what you do is you take the leeks. Let me take that out. There you go. You've got the leeks. Like that. What's that? Thank you very much. Are you going to give me the timings? Thank you. Right. In we go with the leeks over the top.
Go on, Jen, shows everybody what you can
Just
do.
be quiet. At this moment in time, I'm normally supposed to be interviewing Johnny, but I ain't got a clue what's going on. Right, in we go. There you go. Over with the...
I'll interview myself. Since childhood, I mean, I've struggled. I've been talking to myself for a long time. This just reminds me of being in the kitchen at home. Everyone just working around me and wishing I hadn't been born.
I've decided I'm too old for this anyway, right? So we got our roast potatoes in the oven, which, funny enough, have been done. And then we cook these in dripping. None of that Ponzi duck fat.
Yes. Well done, Jimmy. Now you can cook it.
And none of that fancy olive oil either. Proper dripping. So, thank you. 3 minutes. I haven't got 3 minutes, have I?
Grease a little bit olive oil at the end.
Have I genuinely got 3 minutes? Yeah, I have got 3 minutes. They're all nodding at me, yeah.
Oh, you're all right, James.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Right, and you pour the dripping on the top, you see, and that's the key, because you wait until you've had the top bit. My sister used to eat the best bit is the one that's soaking in dripping underneath. Yeah. Roast potatoes should line your esophagus while you're eating them. You see, like...
Bet you can't spell that.
Yeah, you should be, you know... I definitely can't spell it right. Thank you very much. Right. Leeks and brioche. These go in the oven. These would go in the oven if I had space. So these go in there. And we got...
How's your Yorkshires, James?
The Yorkshires are fine, look. And the idea with the Yorkshire pudding batter, once you've made it, you need to leave it to rest, OK? It's got to rest overnight, I think, or at least 4 or 5 hours. And then you pour that into a hot tray, which, if I had room in the oven, I would show you the hot tray. But this is what you end up with. In fact, I'm going to leave those to the end, because this is... What's that?
2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Is that 2 minutes to the end of the show, or just 2 minutes to the end of this bit? Oh, OK. Thank you very much.
Nice guess.
You've got the sauce.
Well guessed. I know.
I'm just glad I don't have to do this every week. Sauce goes in here.
Boys. Beef coming through.
Right, we've got the beef.
One chop each.
Look. We've got the jus, we've got the mustard. Right, and then you can then carve it.
Can I?
Yeah, away you go, carve it away.
Hang on.
No, you can't.
The knife is very sharp.
Exactly.
Mind your fingers, Galton.
Right, you see there, Johnny, we've just made mustard in about about 5 minutes. See? So that's your own homemade mustard. Go with it.
Wow.
Right.
Look at this, Johnny.
Right.
You like this?
Oh, Mark. And then finally...
1 minute, pretty time. Oh.
They're almost as good as, but they're brilliant anyway.
I showed him how to do that.
Yes.
Shut up.
Right, and there you have your proper Yorkshire pudding. But the key to it is roast the beef. That beef's had about a good 3 hours in the oven. Leave it to rest for about an hour. Yeah. And then you've got that with your roast potatoes, your nice bit of beef. What do you think of that?
Oh, hang on.
What?
You want... This is what you want. Look.
Horseradish. Do we want horseradish?
Yeah. Do we want horseradish, James?
No.
Now, to go with our special celebration, Susie's chosen some champagne, of course. You guys can explain what it is. Over to you.
Yeah, she's gone for this really affordable, low-priced champagne called Nicolas Feuillatte. It's their Brut non-vintage.
Tastes good.
Cheers.
Sounds pretty good to me. But what do you reckon, guys? What do you rate to it? It is low price. What is it?
Delicious.
Hey? Happy with that?
Happy birthday.
Mr. Martin Hitches.
Bravo.
That's it now. That's all we got today on Saturday Kitchen Live. Thanks to the brilliant Johnny Vegas. You couldn't get a word in. Our fantastic chefs in the studio and all the amazing chefs that couldn't turn up, as well as these lot we've got over here. And also everybody that's taken part over the 400 shows of Saturday Kitchen. Thanks to an incredible army of brilliant wine experts already who have managed to uncover so many brilliant bottles over the years as well. And cheers to Susy Atkins for the great wine choices, of course. Now, you can enjoy more Best Bites tomorrow over on BBC Two. It's on again as well. And we'll be back live next week, of course, with more fantastic chefs and recipes. That's 401 shows next week, I think. And counting as well. In the meantime, have a great day. I'm going to rest. I'm definitely going to sleep after this. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rugby, of course. And thank you for watching. Bye for now.